Hello and welcome. We are going to go ahead and get started. Looks like we might still have some people jumping in with us, but we are going to go ahead and start our coaching session today, getting your HSE credential. Now, some of you might be saying, well, goodness, I am not getting an HSE. I'm studying for the GED or I'm studying for my HiSET or my task. And the fact of the matter is, you're all doing the same thing. Whether you're studying for your GED, you're taking the HiSET, or you're taking the task, you're all searching for that same goal, that high school equivalency credential. And we're going to have to kind of muddle through some of that today and shake up some of those misconceptions so that you're fully informed on this process that you are getting involved in. I noticed that some of you are essential education students, and that's awesome. We're happy to have you join with us today. And others of you are just learning about essential education as well as this whole process. So we're happy to help you and have you on along in any way we can. So let's go ahead and get started. I am Jen Denton. I'm the student success coach here as a part of the student success team at Essential Education. And one of the things that you will hear us say quite a bit is your success is our goal, meaning we exist to help you succeed, whether that is starting this process of taking your subject matter test to lead up to that all important high school equivalency credential, or even some students that have already passed their high school equivalency credential and are continuing on with us for extended career studies. So we're happy to help you at whatever point in the journey you are on. We are available via email and phone, and I will share all of that information here with you at the end of the session. So this session is specific to getting that HSE, and let's block out what HSE is from the onset. Your HSE credential is your high school equivalency credential. And you might be saying, well, what is that? And in essence, it's a couple of different things. It is a credential. It's that important piece of paper that you can show to an employer, an admissions representative, or a vocational school coordinator to say, hey, I have a high school equivalency. The other thing it is a test. There is a test that is required, whether that is the GED, the HiSET, or the task. That test is what earns you that high school equivalency credential. Taking and passing that test and all of its subject matter is what gets you to that end goal of that high school equivalency. So within that test, no matter which one you're taking, you're going to be focusing on 5 major subject areas. And those basic subject areas are reading, writing, math, science, and social studies. And we'll dive a little bit deeper into those as we go along. Your HSE, or your high school equivalency credential. Why do you need to get it? I find in chasing any kind of goal, we always need to remember our why. And there's some major reasons, no matter where you are on your life or age or experience spectrum, there's some major reasons that all of us share when it comes to looking at the importance of getting this credential. And one of them is employment. I have lots of students that say, hey, my boss has told me that I need to get this credential in order to move ahead in my department. Or, hey, there's a promotion coming up and I know that this would be a big help in my application. So for employment, for a better job, for a next placement within the same company or a new opportunity within a different organization, employment is always a big driver for those searching for their high school equivalency credential. Another is education, just wanting to further and go beyond, complete that high school education, and then perhaps go even farther into a college education or into a vocational or a trade education. Continuing education and remembering that we are all lifelong learners is a big driver for those studying for these exams. Another is economics. This goes into both of those first 2 points as well. Employment, getting that better job, having more financial stability with a greater education, knowing that you can provide not only now for yourself or for your family. Economics is a huge driving factor. Knowing that you're going to have a good paying career, a good paying job, and a high school equivalency is one step in getting you there. The other one that I hear a lot and that I resonate a lot with is this idea of esteem, this idea of self-esteem, making yourself or making your family proud, having something that you can hang your hat on saying, yes, I accomplished this goal. I may have been far removed or had lots of obstacles in the way, but gaining that pride that you get with setting your mind to something and accomplishing that goal is a really important factor. So whether it's employment, continuing your education, getting financial stability in the economic climate, or just building in self-esteem and pride, we all have lots of reasons. But we also all have lots of things that can hold us back. Let's look at some of those. I hear a lot of students say it's too hard. I haven't been in school in a while, or I was never really good at school. It's just too hard. And the pushback I always have there is, hey, it's not as hard as you think. The pass percentage is pretty low, meaning the percentage you have to pass that exam only rests between 40 and 45%. And the way that boils down is if there are 50 questions, like there are in some sections of the GED, you only have to get 23 of those right. And that's a lot less daunting and a lot less intimidating than going into it thinking you have to get 40 out of 50 or even 30 out of 50 to pass. You only have to get 23 out of 50 to pass at that 40 to 45% rate. It takes too much time. That's another thing we hear from our students. This whole process is just too much. It takes too much time. But the fact of the matter is that with committed study time, you can achieve this goal in 6 to 7 weeks. And I put that prerequisite on there, committed study time, because we'll talk about a couple of factors that go into how much time it takes to complete. But we have had students be successful when they set their mind to it and they have committed planned study time for 1 to 2 hours throughout their schedules throughout the week. They really can put their mind to it and achieve this goal within 6 to 7 weeks. Another thing we might hear is it's just too expensive. It's too expensive to go to classes. It's too expensive to pay for the preparation. It's too expensive, goodness gracious, to take the actual exams. And I hear you. Some of those exams can vary in price. The cost of the test vary anywhere from $60 to $150 at your certified testing center within your state. Those costs do vary from state to state, and I can give you some reference points of where you can go to find out what exactly it would cost in your state to take those exams. But there is a little bit of a cost that's involved there. My pushback to that is when you take into account that you might be able to get a better job, you might be able to gain more financial stability with that high school equivalency than you have without it, then you may need to look, definitely need to look at that money that you pay for that exam or even the money you put towards your preparation as an investment. You're investing in yourself, you're investing in your education, and you're definitely investing in having a longer, stronger career path. I don't remember anything. We've got students of all different ages. And so some of our older students from time to time will say, I just don't remember anything. I never really liked it when I was there in the first place. So I definitely don't remember anything now. And here's another thing, just like that test might be easier than you think it is, with the right type of preparation, you may remember more than you think, and you may know more than you think, especially because of how these tests are set up. They're not set up to trick you. And we'll talk about some of the ways that you can look at that test in a different way than you may have before. The fact of the matter is, most people can walk in off the street with no preparation and get a 130 on the GED. Now, that is about 15 points away from passing, but it's 15 points away from passing with no preparation. So there are proven studies that show if you just prepare just a little bit, you may be a lot closer to that passing range already than you think. As we continue to talk about getting your HSE credential, I want you to boil it all down into thinking there's basically 2 steps. Whenever someone calls and says, I have no idea where to begin, that's the first thing I say. Okay, that's awesome. There's basically 2 steps to getting your high school equivalency credential, and that's preparing for and then taking the test of your choice or of your requirement in your state, preparing for and then taking the test. When it comes to preparation, you do have some choices. You can take in-person classes. There's a lot of great benefits to taking an in-person class. There's also some drawbacks. And so let's talk about the positives and maybe some hesitations in taking an in-person class. It's a traditional classroom setting. That works for some people. For some of you, you're saying, oh gosh, the traditional classroom setting is why I'm here in the first place. That never really worked for me. But it is a traditional classroom setting with a live teacher. You have a set schedule of classes, and there is a group environment. There are some things within that group environment that are positive. You can get motivation and new energy and a synergy from people that are there in your class together. But what if you struggle with something and the rest of the class is ready to move on? Most likely, the teacher's going to move on with the rest of the class. And you may be wondering, hey, I still need to fill in these gaps in learning, and everyone else is moving on. So sometimes that environment's too fast paced. The opposite can be true as well when you already understand something, the rest of the class is struggling, and you have to wait for them to catch up before you can move on. So there are some positives to having in-person classes, and there's also some drawbacks. Another way you can prepare for your exam is to do an online high school diploma or an online credential. Now, those are two different things. An online high school diploma is very, very subject matter driven. It's very course driven. It does take a lot longer because it is not a test. It's actually earning courses and classes like you would have had you attended a traditional high school environment. There's also a great deal of cost with these types of programs. They do take a lot more time to complete, and they can be rather expensive. The other thing, and the thing I want you to watch out for, is there are organizations out there that will say, hey, you can get your credential online. But I want you to be really careful about that, because that accreditation, that validity of that credential is often not what it presents itself to be. The fact of the matter is, you can prepare online for sure with a program like ours. Our program is completely online for preparation, but you can never take the actual exam online. You always have to take it in a certified testing center. And we'll review that a little bit later. Unfortunately, there are some organizations out there that will take your time and money, allow you to take whatever exam it is they give you online. But unfortunately, the credential you would earn through such a program would not be legal, it would not be valid, and it wouldn't be useful in you accomplishing those dreams of increasing your employment, increasing your education, and your self-esteem. There's also free academies out there, free academies on YouTube. There's some great, useful videos on YouTube. The problem is you have to be careful of segmented preparation. And what I mean by that is you might be able to look up a YouTube video that explains fractions, but maybe not numeration or equations or the quadratic formulas that you might need to understand or know before you go into the exam. It's segmented. You're only getting it in little pieces. You aren't getting a full preparation with most free academies or YouTube-based programs. The other thing is, while those programs are well-meaning to teach you concepts, and you might learn the concept or the process of being able to do something or know something, they aren't necessarily aligned to the test, meaning that the test makers haven't looked at those YouTube videos. They haven't looked at those free academies and said, yeah, that will prepare you for our exam. In fact, they may be teaching you processes that go completely against the way the test makers would like to see you understand or see you show your understanding of the material. So you want to make sure that however you prepare, you're completely aligned to the test. The other thing you might be able to utilize is workbooks. Workbooks and study guides are great. We sell them on our website. They're a great complement to study. But like that segmented preparation that you get from free academies and things like that, unless you have somebody that's pulling it all together, it is very student driven, meaning that you're going to have some major motivation behind you. There aren't a lot of things that are built in to help redirect, reteach, and reorient you with the material. It's going to be really, really reliant on you and what you can bring to the table. Very helpful, but very much geared toward that independent student. So keep that in mind too. So here's some questions to ask when it comes to preparation. Does the program cover all the things that you'll need to know for the exams? Is it approved by the test makers? Does the study program fit your life and your schedule? Does it personally address your needs? Is the program made for the adult learner? What if you need to review? What if you need to reteach? Can you move on when you've mastered an area? In other words, you want to find a program that doesn't waste your time and makes all of your effort and all of that investment, both of time and money, worth it. You want to make sure that your preparation is going to pay off on test day. And these are the big three. These are the big people that hold all the keys to that credential. And they're the GED testing service, the HiSET testing service, and the TASK, Test Assessing Secondary Completion Service. These are the big three, meaning these are the three nationwide test and testing providers that you can utilize depending on your state and depending on your offerings to obtain your high school equivalency credential. So you might be asking which test is right for me. Well, the first thing you want to consider is your location. You may not have a choice in which test you take because your state may choose it for you. If you're in New York, you're definitely taking the task. Good news there is they're paying for the test for you, so that's an added little benefit. But let's look at some other locations and see what exams you might be taking. I think I saw some participants here from Ohio today, so we'll look at Ohio first. Going to go ahead and this is our website. It's the student end of our website at passged.com for essential education. And if you go into the help menu, there's this great section called Where Will You Take the Test or Where to Test. And all of the states are listed down here, including Washington, D.C. There you are. And we're going to look at Ohio because, again, I did see some participants from Ohio today. And if I click on Ohio, I realize that in the state of Ohio, I can choose from any of those three exams. I can take the GED, the HiSET, or the TASK to obtain my high school equivalency credential. Now, they're all going to cover the same subject matter. Again, science, social studies, reading, writing, and math. They might call those things, different subjects, and they're definitely going to ask questions in a different way from test to test. You can learn a little bit more within each state guideline about residency requirements, age requirements, and again, how much it costs to take the test per subject or for all subjects in your state. And again, Ohio has all three choices. But let's look at another state. Let's look this time at, I believe, Louisiana. Louisiana is one that you really don't have a choice. Louisiana is a HiSET state, meaning I had a student call yesterday, I believe, and they said, hey, I want to learn more about taking the GED in Louisiana. And the first thing I had to walk them through is that they're not going to take the GED in Louisiana. Louisiana requires students seeking their high school equivalency credential to take the HiSET exam. So you'll want to familiarize yourself with your state requirements, and what exams are available to you to obtain your high school equivalency credential. So location can determine which test is right for you. The other thing is format. You'll want to acquaint yourself with the format of each individual test. Now, I showed you those testing service sites, GED.com, hiset.ets.org, and tasktest.com. Those are all of the national clearinghouses for those test providers. Also on our website, in the frequently asked questions section, you can learn a little bit more about GED, HiSET, and TASK. There are some drop downs here that you can click. They'll talk to you about the scoring of each test. They'll talk to you about some preparation programs that we have and what some of those online options might look like. So definitely familiarize yourself with the location and the format of the test or tests in your state. Remember, whichever test you choose, you're going to cover those same basic subjects: reading, writing, math, science, and social studies. And here's where the kicker comes in. But you're saying, but I don't remember all of those things. I don't care what test it is. I don't remember all of that stuff. Here's the deal. The test focuses on reasoning, not memorization. Let me say that again. It focuses on reasoning, not memorization, meaning that they just want to know that you can think. They want to know that you can read and answer questions about what you just read. They want to know that you have common sense skills, that you can apply those skills critically, thinking critically. You don't have to come to the table with a lot of scientific facts. They're going to give you formula sheets for that. You don't have to come to the table with math facts. They're going to give you formula sheets for that, even a calculator for some of the sections. And for social studies, you don't have to remember who the 38th president of the United States was. You don't have to remember who won what war in XYZ year. They just want to know that you can read and understand what you read. So I always tell students, focus on your reading, especially if reading's been a struggle for you. Take the time to work through tutorials. Take the time to work on your reading comprehension because reading really is the foundation, not only for the reading section itself, but obviously for writing. Those two go hand in hand, and definitely for the science and social studies sections. How long will it take? We touched on this a bit earlier that if some students have drive and they have a specific timetable, they aren't too far removed from the curriculum, and they have some committed time that they can put towards study, you could finish in about 6 to 7 weeks. But there really are two very important factors that affect how long it will take you to take and pass the test to achieve your high school equivalency credential. And that's where you start and how much time you have to study. While some of us are pretty far removed from the curriculum, others may have just dropped out in the last year or two and might be a lot more familiar with some of the sections of study. So where you start definitely has an impact on how long it takes you to complete the courses or to complete your preparation. Also, the time you have to commit to study. A lot of our students work a lot of the hours. They work a lot of crazy shifts. And so there may only be 30 minutes here or there to commit to study. Or we have a lot of stay-at-home moms that utilize an hour or two during nap time to jump into their study. Or if you have a different type of schedule where you're on 3 days and off for a certain number of days, and you want to use those off days for big sections of study, definitely the time you have to commit to study definitely fast tracks your time that it takes to complete your. Can I test online? We touched on this briefly earlier when we were talking about online diplomas and online credential offerings. Be very, very careful here that you know what you're getting. You cannot take the official test online. You can take lots of practice tests online, but you cannot take the official high school equivalency exam anywhere other than in a certified proctored testing center. Now, if you're taking the GED, it is computerized. You will physically take it on a computer. Some of the sections of HiSET and TASC are on a computer as well. Not all. Some of the test centers still utilize the Scantron format for HiSET and TASC. You may have computerized options, yes, to take the test there at the testing center, but it has to be proctored in person with a live person that you register for ahead of time. Don't get fooled on this, because what you will get will not be a valid credential. When you're ready to test, if you're taking the GED, you'll go to GED.com to schedule a test date. Let me show you what that looks like. This is GED's national site, and they have a scheduling section on their website. You are able to learn more about the test. You're able to learn more about the prices and the state rules that we already covered, some more information about test scores. And here, when you click on scheduling, they have a zip code locator. You'll use that zip code locator to find out where your closest test center is. They'll ask you to log in to schedule. They'll ask you to see where you can test. They'll ask you to create an account. You'll want to be familiar with this site because this is also where you'll come back to order your transcripts and to get your score report. We're going to jump back in. And you might be saying, well, I'm not taking the GED. So there are also HiSET and TASC options there, and they also do their scheduling online. You can find those at our website at Where to Test, and you can go to their national service providers as well. How much is it? Again, we talked about the price varies from state to state. That can range from $60 to $120. New York, we see you. You're testing for free. They might tell you what test you have to take, but you're taking it for free. So count that as a blessing. And here's another really cool thing, 2 free retakes per subject. They may still charge you a small nominal test center fee because they do have to pay those live proctors that are there administering the exam for you. But in general, most states will provide you with 2 free retakes per subject. What happens next? So you've prepared, you've scheduled your test, you've gone in, you've done your best, you've taken the test. You can most likely expect same-day scoring. Again, because it's computerized, they're going to have really quick turnaround. Even if it's on a Scantron with bubbling in the answers, they're going to be able to run those through an electronic machine pretty quickly and allow you same-day scoring. They'll give you a personalized score report. And again, when you get ready to order that diploma and transcript post passing those exams, those will be ordered through those individual testing agencies, and we provided those clearinghouse sites for you here in this webinar, and we'll follow up with that when we give you follow-up information post our session together. GED, HiSET, and TASK, this just takes you to those individual clearinghouses. And then all that's left to do after that is to start a new chapter, to pursue some of those goals that you can already see in your window right ahead. You see it down the road, and hopefully today we've walked you through some of the questions you have about what that process looks like to get there. And as I mentioned before, some of you are currently our students, so you may know a little bit about how Essential Education's got your back when it comes to preparing for these exams. But if you're not one of our students, you may not know how we can partner with you to help you make this goal of passing your HSE exam and getting that credential a reality. So I want to walk you through some of the things that we can help to provide in that regard. We provide alignment to test. All of our preparation materials are certified by GED, HiSET, and TASK, meaning the test makers have looked at our preparation materials and they've said, yes, that will definitely prepare you to take our exams. We teach you what the test will ask and how they will ask it. Not only those major subject areas, but we constantly look at how the GED lays out their questions, how HiSET asks their questions, and what tasks ask you to do, so that our lessons and our practice tests can ask you the material in the same way. So come big test day, you aren't thrown off by the concept, nor are you thrown off by how they ask the question. We also have really great timing and pacing. It's self-paced, meaning you can speed up or you can slow down whenever you want. You'll take a practice test, and based on that practice test, lessons will be put together that automatically knocks out the things you already understand and just helps you focus on the things that you still need to work on. The sessions are mobile. You can access them on your phone or on your tablet whenever you do have free time here and there. 24/7 access allows you to prepare in a way that's conducive to your schedule, that fits with your schedule. Even if you work second or third shift. I do have some students that study in some very weird hours, but that's just the way their life works. So we want to make sure that our program fits your time, your needs, and meets you where you are. The other thing our program does is we pay attention to format and presentation. It's made for adults and how you learn. Specifically, that the lessons, the characters that come out and teach you different concepts, they're relating it to things that are applicable to adults and how you best learn and how you best process material. Feedback and review. Feedback and review are really important parts of the learning process. You need to know how you're doing. You need to know when you're making mistakes, and you need to know how you can make those mistakes work for you. We do that in a couple of different ways. We allow review sections where there's review and reteaching. There's opportunities to answer a few questions correctly and test out of a section. Or if you're still struggling with something and you're answering a few questions incorrectly, you can bump back. You can relearn the material. You can have the questions asked in a different way. You may be able to look at it in a different light. And being able to have feedback and review are really important parts, again, of learning and retaining the information that test out options. Again, if you're mastering material, you will be able to say, hey, I think I know this. Take a quick series of practice test questions, which is always good to take practice test questions, and test out of a given section. And it prompts you for test readiness. I'll show you how by introducing you to the Essential Education homeroom. If you're already one of our students, you're very familiar with these homerooms. This is a homeroom for a GED Academy student. This is something our GED Academy student sees every time he or she logs in. I believe this is a gentleman's homeroom that I'm in now. And in this gentleman's homeroom, he's been studying RLA reading. This is his learning plan. He's on the unit intermittent vocabulary. He's starting intermittent vocabulary in the pre-GED range. So he is just ready to start taking some test level material. He is going to be moving on next to gaining meaning from text, reading something and understanding what you gain from that. He's able to jump in and start a lesson. The lesson tells him that this usually takes about 25 minutes, so he knows how to budget his time for that. And he's able to see the progress that he's made so far. He's able to test his progress because it looks like he's already taken a practice test. He's taken a practice test, which he can click on practice test details at any time, see the questions he missed and the questions he got correct, and go back and review that material as he wishes. We can see that he got a 131, or he's averaging a 131 on his practice test. There are multiple practice tests that are built into each subject within GED Academy. HiSET Academy and Task Academy all have subject matter material based on what they call those subjects within the individual test. So at a 131 for the GED, he knows that he has to get a 145 out of 200 to pass. Now, let me back up. Some of you might be saying, but Jen, you said I only had to get a 45% to pass. Absolutely true. But you get 100 points just for showing up. So you only have to make up 45 more of those points. So in essence, this young man's made up 31 of those points so far in his practice test. But we want to see him scoring in that 145 to 150. And the lesson gurus estimate that he might be almost 2 hours away from some extra study time and extra lesson time. He can continue to check his progress here in the practice test details. And when this bar starts reaching up into the 150, 155 range, then this indication will say, instead of getting there, hey, you might be ready to test. And then at that point, he might be ready to take his test in RLA reading, or he might want to wait and take his test in all subjects at the same time. And at that point, he would need to check his progress in the other subjects as well. Setting goals and keeping great study time and great accountability and tracking of your goals is also really important with that feedback. So our homeroom allows a study time section. You'll see that this young man, he must have a lot more free time on Mondays and Wednesdays than he does on Tuesdays and Thursdays, because he was able to put in a lot more hours, minutes on Mondays and Wednesdays than he did on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And that's great. That's what works best for his schedule. And it looks like he's like me, likes to take some time off to rest and reflect. That's always great for your learning as well on Saturdays and Sundays. All of these tools in the homeroom that we can provide for you here at Essential Education are wonderful in helping you prep for that high school equivalency exam. You can do this. That's the bottom line. You can do this, and we can help you. As I mentioned at the onset of the webinar together, we are available through a 1-800 number at our student helpline, 1-800-460-8150, and also at studenthelp@essentialed.com. We have helped thousands of students prepare for these exams. And if it's not enough for me to say it, I want you to see what some of them have to say. I love looking at these reviews because many of these students are in process. They're talking about how much they appreciate the program and what it's giving them thus far, that they're getting control of their education, and it's worth it, that they've tried other courses in the past, but this one is what they needed. It's fitting their needs, that it's great, that it might be the best learning program ever. I love hearing that. But also, I love to get those calls from students saying, hey, I just wanted to let you know I passed my high school equivalency exam, the GED, the HiSET, or the task, and I got my credential. So I just wanted to say thank you. Those are always some of my favorite comments that we get. So we do have a lot of satisfied students who our program really, really helped this to work for them. And we're here to help you too, because again, your success is our goal. We thank you so much for joining us today. If you weren't able to join us today, you've got copies of these slides, you've got a recording of this session, and you've got these links available to you. Please reach out. We're happy to help in any way we can. We want to see you accomplish this goal. Thanks, and we hope to see you at another session again soon.